right, good morning, but for me it's afternoon. It's about 2 p.m. and I'm on the final washing the beater bar for my bread machine bucket because tonight I'm going to make some chili. See, my little chili things are down there. This is, I splurged. I went and got chili ready tomatoes and some hot and spicy Brooks beans. I had a crushed tomato too, but that ended up going into some really, really bland spaghetti because I had a spaghetti sauce mishap a bit back. It was so bad. Like, making this spaghetti was so bad, I just deleted the video. You'll never see it. It was awful. But anyway, in one of my recent videos, I said I only had a little bit of sponge left. This is my little bit of sponge. When I buy a sponge, I never use the whole sponge. I never do. Because it usually ends up being a waste. And there it is. It usually ends up being a waste of sponge. So I bought 3 sponges from CVS, and I bet it's been a couple months ago. Because I just use a little bit of sponge. And this is all I've got left. But I've got to clean the beater bar on the bread machine. And I like to get in the little beater bar hole. Otherwise, it's just kind of awful to try and get it clean. Because you have to clean it and then put it on the machine. And then clean it and then put it on the machine. So I have found a way around that. It's called cutting off a little bit of sponge. So I just cut off a little bit of sponge. And then I get my beater bar. Well, I'm going to put a little soap on my sponge. But then I get my beater bar and I put my sponge through the beater bar hole. And I've done this in earlier videos, but I haven't done it for a while. And this is why, you can see why I do this right here. See that? That's dough inside the thing. So I like to go ahead and get my little sponge and push it through my beater bar, and then I do that kind of thing. But anyway, I'm going to finish cleaning this beater bar up, and I'll be back to show you my roll recipe. And I got to go pull a recipe. I've got a really great rolls recipe on my tablet. And my tablet is out of battery. I don't even know how that happened. Actually, maybe I should try turning it on. Because I feel like I charged it. I don't know. Like I said, I would love to use my recipe that's on my tablet because it's delicious. My family, when they could still eat carbs, used to request these rolls every Thanksgiving. And honestly, holiday meals have kind of fallen by the wayside. Alright, it's booting. Oh my god, I might be able to get a hold of my rolls recipe. I thought I charged this, and I bet you I charged it, and I just haven't used it since I charged it. I've been doing a lot with paper, but I know this rolls recipe is on this tablet. We don't really do too many holiday meals anymore. Nobody can eat them. And what they can eat ends up being like disgusting for a holiday. I mean, who wants, hamburgers with hamburger sticks and... Anyway, so we don't do too many holiday meals. My family just doesn't do too many holiday meals because nobody can eat it. Ah, shoot. Battery power 0. Doggone it. Alright, so that sucked. This recipe I have never used. This is called soft dinner rolls. You need warm milk, or whole milk, yeast, sugar, 1 egg, 56 grams of butter. I can guarantee you I'm not using it. I'll use oil, salt, and flour. Alright, so I gotta get an egg. I didn't realize that took an egg. Boy, I'm having an egg-heavy week. I needed 5 eggs for the bread pudding. I had 2 eggs for breakfast this morning, which I almost never do. And now my rolls recipe needs an egg. But this is so worth it. Well, at least I hope so. I have not, oops, I forgot a paper towel. Dried my hands off, forgot to get a paper towel for the egg. I hope this is a good recipe. I like my other recipe, and I think it's called Big Batch Dinner Rolls, I think, is what it's called, but without being able to boot my laptop, or not laptop, tablet, I just don't know. So we'll go with this one. This is probably fine, but I need 1 egg. Well, come on now. All right. Plastic really doesn't crack eggs very well. So I got my egg. I think it's fine. I'll give it a look and a sniff. I tell you, some of my weeks aren't real egg heavy, and some of them, like this week, I'm just going through them. Yep, smells good, so we'll just put this in. And what I'm doing, you can't bake rolls in the bread machine, but you can use the bread machine to mix up the ingredients, which is exactly what I'm going to do. And I need to get you a little bit higher if you want to see what is going on. So I guess you will sit on my salt, the big salt, right there. All right, so I need a cup of milk, which is 240 milliliters, that I believe, because I think we just did that yesterday. And if we didn't, it was the other day. So 240 milliliters of whole milk. Now, I don't have whole milk. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I've got this 2% from the food pantry, so I need 240 milliliters. So we will do it, 240 milliliters. 232, 239, 245. Whoops. Well, hey. So there's the milk. And so far, this recipe is free to me. 240 milliliters of milk. 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. That's... how much flour is going in here? 3 cups? So it's 15 milliliters of yeast. I've pretty much got that memorized. Where did I do with my yeast? Here, yeast. There it is. All right, so I bought some yeast, but the package that it was in kind of got crumpled and wrinkled, so I put it in my old package. It's the same Bob's Red Mill Active Dry yeast, but I just bought some more, and then I just dumped it in the package because I didn't like the way the package arrived. It was too wrinkly for me, and this package is in better condition despite the fact that it's several years old. So 10 to 15 milliliters of fresh yeast. Probably just do 10. Since it's fresh yeast. Well, how about 9 grams? It's not switching over to the 10. And I have a lot of yeast in there. We'll do that. I'll show you how much yeast is in there. It's 9 grams. And there's a lot of it in there, so I think that's fine. So 9 grams of yeast. 56 grams of some type of oil. Tell you what, I'm just going to use vegetable oil. I do have a stick of butter in the fridge, but I don't really want to break into it because I'm going to be stuck inside all week, and I may have a better recipe for that butter. You know, like gravy. Let's see, 56. There we go, 56 exactly. I'll show that to you. And vegetable oil by far is still cheaper than butter. So I got that exact. 56 milliliters of vegetable oil. And milliliters and grams in this context are exactly the same, but there's what that looks like. So now I need to do, 1 teaspoon of salt. I want to do the flour before I do the salt. So this is going to be 390 grams of flour. Yeah, that sounds right. 390 grams of flour. And I do believe this came from the food pantry. Baker's Corn. It would have had to have been, because I think that's an Aldi's brand. And I have no way to get to Aldi's. It would take me a long, long time to get there. Boy, 310. 328. 360. 389. We're going to stop there. Oh, wait. No, it says 390 now. All right, 390. No, 389. Well, I am 1 gram off. That's okay. There it is. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. It says 1 teaspoon. That's quite a bit of salt. All right, that's probably plenty. And I need to go plug in my bread machine. Technically, I use the bread or the toaster oven more than the bread machine. But I've been using the bread machine a lot more lately, just because my bread is so much better. And it's expensive. Bread has really got to be stupidly expensive. I gotta do a little bit of cleanup. Turns out my bread pudding did leak in the bottom of, or boil over just a little bit. It looked like it was going to boil over, and I wasn't sure that it had. But now that I have the thing out and I'm looking in there, it actually did boil over just a little bit. It's being really tough. It doesn't want to come out. I was hoping it'd just come out with a paper towel, because I don't really want sticky stuff on my reusables, but this is being really awful. Alright, that is clean, so I'm going to put this dough, and that's all the bread machine's going to do, is turn it into dough, into my bread machine, and I need to look and see what the dough setting is. Kind of like I had to look up and see what the bake setting was. Turns out my bake setting was 12. Let's find out what the dough setting is. Dough is number 8. I kind of thought it was, but I wanted to make sure. All right. You think you've got it clean, and then you look down and something else is being stupid. Now let's hope it's clean. Some more crumbs fell into the bottom from who knows where. And it will knead for an hour and a half. But then these rolls will only take about 30 minutes in the toaster oven. So there it is. I think this is going to be about perfect. I think that's going to be perfect. There it is. I think we need just a little splash of milk. The reason I say it needed a splash of milk is because, first of all, we have that stuff in the corner, and it shouldn't be doing a slap slap against the side of the machine. That's how your machine gets broke. And that's especially how that non-stick coating gets worn off the bucket. I have 2 spots on the machine where the non-stick coating got scraped off, and it's because I was making it mix a dough that was way, way, way too hard. So, alright, that's good. I'm going to close the lid, and we'll start on the chili. Now that bread machine is going to do all the work while I start on the chili. This skillet is almost clean. But in order to get the bread machine clean, I had to boil water into this thing. This is what the water's like here, folks. It's awful. So I'm going to wash this again to get the lime out of it. I'm going to let that dry off and I'll be back. So there's what it looks like now. It's still having some issues with the corners, but it's looking pretty good. So I'll just leave it like that. It's just going to keep kneading and rising. Alright, the pan is finally clean, so I'm going to get out the hamburger. So this usually comes wrapped in just a gob ton of plastic. I don't know why either. It's really kind of strange. Maybe so it doesn't leak? I don't know. But they really go nuts with it. Alright, it looks good. I gotta say something. This really looks great. A few years ago, I think I got this hamburger one time, and it just didn't look all that great, so I never got it again. And then I've been so broke this year that I had to risk it. I had to buy their beef. Now the question is, would I ever thaw their beef overnight and then cook it? I really freaking doubt it. But, alright, the hamburger's in. The rolls are on their first rise. And I think that's good. I gotta do some stuff in the office, so I'm gonna let this stuff do its thing and I'll be back. I am back to turn over the beef, and I can't, since I need both hands to turn over the beef, I'm not going to be able to get you real close, but I'm going to turn it over and scrape off the top, and that's it. So this is the first time I've turned it over. I'm actually editing a video that got lost, and I don't know how it got lost, but it did. So while I'm making this video, I am editing a video that should have went out 3 or 4 days ago, and I'm not sure why it didn't. But I'll remedy that. I also have to, I actually have to go through this video twice, because I went through it the first time, and I'm like, man, I am being a real grump. And that happens. And as I get more and more through the video, I am less grumpy. So actually, cooking is very relaxing, believe it or not. I'm going to try and edit out the grump in the video. That's okay. Alright, so I will be back. Okay, this hamburger is just about done, so I need to drain this water. And it's going to be very, 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 very cold outside. I am not going to pour this water down the drain. I'm going to put it in this jar, or at least as much as will fit in this jar. All right, there's still a little bit of water in the pan, but that's okay. What I want to do is chop it up and then taste it, since it came from the food pantry. So I can actually do that over here, and I can turn you around and you can kind of watch me. There we go. So what I want to do is chop this up, and if I were more motivated, I would get the food processor out and do it that way. What I need to do is go through some boxes and find my immersion blender, because that would make things a lot easier. And that immersion blender is a lot easier to clean than the food processor. I don't want my chili to have big chunks of hamburger in it. And I don't need to taste a big chunk of hamburger. I just need a little bit. And yes, I'll be wiping out everything and probably scrubbing this cut too. Alright, let me get a fork and I will taste this to make sure that it is not rancid. And if you're wondering what the food pantry bought of the chili, I believe it's going to be the hamburger and the ketchup that I'm going to put into it. Everything else I bought. Now that's not to say that I can't get tomatoes and beans from the food pantry. I do have beans from the food pantry. I just don't have chili beans from the food pantry right now. And technically I could get diced tomatoes from them too, but I haven't asked for that in a while. I may just head to the store here in a couple weeks and just stock up on tomatoes and beans. Okay, not rancid. So this is good. And I'll show you what I've done as far as getting it chopped to a reasonable size. Spatula works pretty good if you know how to do it. So that's what it looks like. It's still chunky, but it'll be all right. My rolls have about another 20 minutes on the dough side. And then I need to form them into balls and stick them in the toaster oven to bake. Getting my bowl ready to test my beans and tomatoes. I never trust anything. This stuff came from the supermarket and I still don't trust it. Thing is, there seems to be a lot of bad quality control these days when it comes to food products. So what I want to do is I want to test the tomatoes first and then the beans. And if you're asking why if you're thinking, why does she still wipe down her cans? Well, oh no. Yep, piss poor quality control. Well, the chili ready diced tomatoes were dented. You know, that's the second can that I caught that was dented. The first one I caught it in the store. So I got another one. And right as I was drying this off, I realized that it was dented. It was very, very hard to find. I have to go with the regular diced tomatoes. Thankfully, I have a full spice shelf. That sucks because I was going to make tacos, and now I don't have any diced tomatoes for the tacos. I do still have salsa. I got a thing of hot salsa. Maybe I'll substitute the salsa for that, but that is so disappointing. And that's stuff I bought that I checked and I screwed up. And it's going to be cold for about a week, so I can't even get anywhere until, well, it's Sunday the 16th, and I think it's going to be Monday and Tuesday of the week after next before I can get out. So that sucks. Now, I can try and get tomatoes from the food pantry Wednesday, and I might do that. Thank God for the food pantry, because this year has been terrible as far as the weather goes. We'll have another solid week of temperatures that are too cold to really be out in. And if you live in a colder climate, that's cool. You know how to deal with it. You have clothes to deal with it. I don't. Alright, so these tomatoes look alright. They smell tomatoey. I'm just going to have to spice the tar out of this because I wanted to try the chili ready tomatoes. So those look good. Well, other than this green bit. Oh, look, they included the stem part. I'm telling you, quality control, man. Quality control. Alright, so I'm going to put the tomatoes in here. I'm just doing it right there. Eventually, maybe I'll get a one of those things that sits on the counter. What do you call it? A hot plate that sits on the counter so that you're not so far away from the stove. But I can't afford that right at the moment unless I already have one. And that could be a possibility too, because I think I used to have one. But I do not know if I still have one. I'm going to Look at these hot chili beans. At least these weren't dented. Well, at least they give you a lot of beans. Well, that is some serious beans right there. Yeah, these beans look all right. A lot of beans in that can. Tastes like nothing. Well, if it tastes like something, it tastes like can is what it tastes like. But it doesn't taste bad, so all right. So the tomatoes and the beans are now in the pot. I'm going to add as much water as I possibly can to this, which isn't going to be much. I'll have to watch this like a hawk. All right, so I'm going to add my spices, and that would be the chili powder that I just bought. Some pepper. Probably don't need salt. Wouldn't think so anyway. Some garlic powder. Some onion. Wow, I was going to put onions in this. They're not going to fit, so onion powder. Bought some cumin, so I'm going to get some cumin and put some cumin in there. Because some chili recipes actually call for cumin, so we're going to try it. If I can get it to open. Some paprika. I really need to get some more paprika next time I go to the local grocery. I have really gone through it. And some red pepper flakes. You knew that was coming. Alright, so it's just going to simmer. It's going to end up being really, really thick. Alrighty, that's it for now. I'll be back. Alright, the chili is simmering and the rolls are done. The dough part of the rolls are done. Woohoo! Holy cow! Alright, I gotta show that to you here in a minute. It really rose. This is the roll dough, and I'm gonna turn these into 2-ounce rolls. So let's do that. With the help from my scale. Then I'm going to put these on the baking sheet and bake them for, should only take 30 minutes. I guess I should see how much this makes. My stuff for my chili is on top of this. Yield is 14 to 16 rolls. 14 to 16 rolls, that's interesting. All right, 2 ounces. I'm just gonna pull some of this dough and measure it. So this one is exactly 2 ounces. I'm gonna put it on my sheet. It's a little stickier than I anticipated. I'm gonna have to put some oil on my hands or some oil on that dough. All right, this one is 2.3, so I don't need it that big. I want to really keep it to 2 ounces. Looks like I'll be able to get 9 rolls on the tray, I think. Yep, I'll be able to get 9 on this tray, which is great. But I think I'll be cooking them in 2 batches. Alright, so it is time to stick these in the toaster oven and let them cook. So I'm cooking them for 30 minutes at 330 in the toaster oven. That should just about be 350 degrees in an actual oven, or that's what it should act like. And my chili is over here, still bubbling away. Just letting it simmer. I should probably taste it. I'm going to stir it up and wait for those rolls to bake, and I'll be back. So I'm in here checking on my chili and rolls. I tasted the chili. I wasn't terribly happy with the spicing. So I added the rest of the ketchup, which was about 2 tablespoons, tablespoon and a half. Then I added some more garlic, onion powder, and salt. And I'm going to stir that up. And it's so full that using a spatula would be almost impossible. So, there it is. Let's see if this tastes a little bit better. A lot of times when it's missing something, it's usually missing salt. Yeah, it's a little better. Maybe some more chili powder, too. I thought I put quite a bit of chili powder in it, but maybe not. All right, so let's take a look at the rolls. They have about 15 minutes left on them. They look pretty good to me. When I get done with, I think tomorrow I need to clean up the toaster oven. But there's the rolls. They got about 15 minutes on them. All right, the first batch of rolls is done. It's been done for a minute. I've been trying to get this video done. And now that I'm editing it, I understand why it hasn't been done yet. It's literally taken me all day to get this one video edited. So let's take a look at the rolls. Oh, they look pretty good. All right. So they don't look as good as the other recipe that I usually use. So let's see if it's edible. If they're not edible, I'm not doing the other half. It's kind of frustrating when this stuff doesn't cool off right away because it's really, really hot and I need to see if it's any good. I'll go ahead and keep them, but they're not as good as my other recipe that's on my tablet. And this recipe only made 13 rolls. There was only enough dough left in the thing to make 4 more. We'll see if these rolls taste better with chili. I'm really, 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 really hungry. This took way, 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 way longer than it should have. I think it's pushing 5 o'clock. I love all those commercials. Make dinner in 30 minutes. Yeah, right. No one can make dinner in 30 minutes unless they're making a microwave meal. And even that one I question. Throw some chili in here and see if the roll tastes any better with the chili. It's really, really thick chili, I'll give it that. And this is still steaming too. My gosh, this stuff will not cool off. I've had the stove off for like 10-15 minutes. Well, the chili is excellent, and this is not my favorite roll recipe. I don't know what's wrong with it, but they're really not very good. Okay, if you liked this video, please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you later.